Hello friends. Today we will relive that moment which changed the landscape of Indian cricket in one day internationals. Yes, you are correct. I am talking about the 1983 Prudential Cup. Indian cricket has evolved a lot since then, but the credit still goes to that team who are fondly called Kapil's Devils, to that day 25th June 1983, and to that never to die spirit, due to which we became the world champions for the very first time. Like me, many of us were not born or were too young to cherish the victory. I have three guests today who had witnessed the moment, and we will hear their experiences, their first hand reactions. Without any delay, let me introduce them. I welcome the three of you, Mr. Surya, Mr. Narayanan, and Mr. Kalidas, to my show. And I hope you have a great time reminiscing the 1983 World Cup. Mr. Kalidas, what did cricket mean to you at that time? I mean, what sort of general professional cricket did you witness prior to 1983?
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of cricket. In fact, if I go back memory lane, the first cricket test match, at that point in time, you had only test matches. I'm in fact now 65, and the first test match I watched was in 1962. Dexter's team in India, and that was a memorable occasion because India won a home series against England. So I've been a huge cricket fan from that point in time, and until I left Calcutta in 2010, I don't think I have missed one single cricket test match. I must confess that I'm not a great fan of the IPL. I do enjoy red ball cricket, but nothing beyond. So that's a small introduction. But I still follow the game, the red ball cricket, and I'm a great fan of the Ashes version of the game.
Uh, like as I said, in if you are in Calcutta and automatically field sports come to you naturally. So I was very active in cricket. The real interest started in 1971 when actually I got a knock over my. There's a mark here. I got a knock over my left eyebrow, and there's a split, and I could not see properly. It was completely swollen. But the 71, the West Indies series was going on, and the radio is available. I could not move out of the house. So that was the 71 was the first year I would say that I came close to Indian cricket, and of course become a huge fan of Gavaskar, Jaisima, Sardesai, and it continued in 71. Then we went over to Lords, the famous victory, Oval, sorry, the famous victory, the Solkar catches, the Wadekar catches. All this is very exciting, but on the radio. So this is the brief touch as far as theoretical and practical cricket is concerned. So yeah, exciting, and cricket has always been in the blood, even today. And just like music, like I had no bars, like I loved cricket in the 1960s, then the Test match, then the Prudential 60 over cricket, then the 50, and even IPL also. I enjoy. Big fan of Dhoni, as I think half the population. So I enjoy cricket, and I'm still very much there actually.
Like my other members, participating members have told, I am also from Calcutta, and in Calcutta street cricket is something which nobody I think will miss it. I was very much on that, and that's how the cricket started in my blood. And as far as I'm concerned, I had the opportunity of seeing great players like Datu Pattar and Balu Gupte and Vino Mankad and all that. They used to come from Bombay and also and used to play in Calcutta for this Rajasthan club and Sporting Union and all this. They were the fringe players, you can say, who used to play for these clubs, and they were very stylish. Datu Patkar used to have a pipe in his mouth, after the game is over, and he used to drive his Morris Minor car and used to go off. That kind of flamboyance they used to have those days. Cricket used to be a costly affair those days, and so this is how I continued with and like Mr. Surya said, I watch all the cricket matches throughout the world wherever it is going, and it is in my blood. I cannot stop watching cricket matches.
So now coming to the 83 World Cup itself. So just to give a perspective of the atmosphere of 83 World Cup. So what were your expectations? Mr. Surya, what were your expectations from the team comparing it to the 75 or the 79 or even the 82, any recent tours that happened? So what were your expectations from the team?
Honestly, 1983 World Cup, the biggest advantage for Indian supporters was there was no expectation. The reason being, we just could not get at they say at the what one day cricket is all about, how to go about it. And that we saw in 75, where England scored 330 and Gavaskar scored only 36 runs because he gave it up. We don't know how to play this particular format. That happened in 75. In 79 again, we lost all the three matches and we lost to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka were babies at that point of time. So given the past record, there was not much by way of expectation as far as when you put the team on the paper and say, okay, these guys are playing. So nobody was reading much into the team, much into the tournament. And then the team selection also, there were a few problems. We knew that Gavaskar was nowhere as far as this format is concerned, is not getting the hang of it. But at that point of time, India did not have any opener. Srikanth, okay, if he clicks, he clicks. If it doesn't click, it doesn't click. But there was nobody to partner Srikanth. And Gavaskar was automatic choice because there was no other opener. And then they thought that because it's 60 over format, there were more deliveries to play. So at least he'll be able to hold the swing and the pace that England pitches will have to offer. So that's how Gavaskar went into as an opener. And as you know, Gavaskar did not do anything in that World Cup. As far as the selection of the team was concerned, there was not much to read. Like, no, this guy could have been taken, that guy should have been dropped. The only contention was Sunil Walson, for example. He made it to the team, but he was not even in the probables. Sunil Walson and T.A. Shekhar was there very much. And T.A. Shekhar at that point of time, as far as pace was concerned, he was even faster than Kapil Dev because Kapil Dev was at that point a fast medium bowler and T.A. Shekhar was slightly faster than him. So everybody thought that T.A. Shekhar would come to the team. It was Sunil Walson who came to the team. And then there was a toss between Ashok Malhotra and Kirti Azad. And Kirti Azad could bowl a bit of off spinners, off cutters. So it went in his favor that, okay, he is going to be the thing. Surprisingly, Vishwanath did not make it. And Vengsakar got the nod because Vishwanath, we all thought that would be a better choice. A, because his ability to counter the pace. He had better technique and also the experience. So one thought that Vishwanath would be at Tottenham. So there were three selections which I know that point of time, but they did not matter. No, nobody was annoyed as why these guys are playing or why these guys are chosen. Because the backdrop was that we are not going to make it. The only enthusiasm was yes, we are participating in the World Cup again, and but not expectation. I did not have any expectation as far as this team was concerned. The only silver lining or the only good part was we had four bowlers who were all not a very known commodity. Neither the world knew much about Mohinder Amarnath, nor Roger Binney was completely, people are unaware of what he was. Madan Lal, people knew a bit. And then nobody knew anything about Balwinder Singh Sandhu. And since we used to follow Ranji Trophy, Dilip Trophy, Rani Trophy, and all these trophies, we know that these guys were, with the very iffy bowlers like Mudassar Nazar of Pakistan. Mohinder Amarnath was very similar to Mudassar Nazar, maybe even better than him. But coming back to your question, not much of a hope till the first match actually took place.
Mr. Narayanan, coming to you from where he is leaving, he said there was not much of a hope. But was there a sense of hopelessness as well? Because 75, 79, I think we just won one match against East Africa and then all the matches were lost.
I won't say hopelessness, but yes, we were in terms of ranking or in terms of the quality or in terms of the, popularity and all that, India was standing a very little chance to win the World Cup at that time.
No, actually, I share his views because, if you went by the bookmakers' odds at the start of the tournament, India had an odds of 500 to 1. But the very fact that there was, I think Kapil Dev made it clear in one of the interviews which I heard recently that the only thing that worked in their favor was the fact that there was no expectation. But then I think the one thing that worked to our advantage was the fact that yes, there was a lot of unknown commodity in the team insofar as exposure to international cricket was concerned. Roger Binney wasn't very well known. Madan Lal was okay. They said that he's a Dudwala cricketer, Dudwala bowler. And then, of course, Kapil Dev was the superstar. And there was some exciting talent which didn't flower in this World Cup, namely Venksathar. There was a great amount of expectation, but I don't think he got a good run, in terms of selection. So the point I'm making is that the fact that there was no expectation at all worked to our advantage, and we had everything to win and nothing to lose. And that is exactly the philosophy that Kapil Dev carried into every match. And another thing which added to our favor, because of the English conditions and the fact that we didn't have any express bowler, but all expressly fast bowler, but all these guys could swing the ball. And more in particular, Roger Binney. I think Roger Binney was the highest wicket taker, if I recall, in the entire World Cup. Roger Binney, Madan Lal, Kapil Dev, and even Mohinder Ramanathan, for that matter, with his little in singers.
I will just interrupt you for a minute. In fact,
Yeah.
with all these people, there was one person who is the dark horse, I must say, that was Yashpal Sharma. He was such
Yeah,
a
as a
fighting
batsman.
quality he had.
Yes, yes.
He was a brilliant fielder. And he will
Yeah,
chip
yeah.
in with some good runs, which will make the whole situation different. That kind
Exactly.
of, enthusiasm
Yeah.
was there.
Actually, Yashpal Sharma was the one who set the tone because I think he got that brilliant 76 against West Indies in the first match, and India won that match. And in the round robin, how much he scored?
89.
89.
83.
Yeah. So therefore, the fact that there was no expectation actually worked wonders for India. And to my mind, as an ardent fan, I never felt that we would have any hope in hell because we were just an also ran. Given the performance that the team had shown in the earlier two versions. Yeah, that is my take on that.
This brings me to a very interesting and controversial topic. Captaincy, Kapil Dev versus Gavaskar. Kapil Dev was an aggressive sort of a player and Gavaskar was a defensive sort of player. So that fits into your personality as well. But if we gauge the experience of Gavaskar and the experience of Kapil Dev, we know the result. 1983, we were the world champions. But at that time, did you feel that giving Kapil Dev the captaincy a tour or a couple of tours before was a very risky thing to do, and rather we should have continued with Gavaskar itself? Mr. Surya, your views?
I know a little backdrop of this through other sources. And Gavaskar was very powerful as far as the BCCI. He was always very powerful even at that point of time, even as a player. And he was not very keen or not too sure about his own place in the team. In fact, there were a few matches in the round robin which he opted out also. So he was not running for the captaincy. He was not sure of his place in the team. Not placed in the team, was not keen because this format was not suiting him at all. And he did not want at that point of time, change his batting style and all. And those days, the cricket was not that advanced. Like you have a batting coach, you have a statistician, you have so many support staff, will guide you to help you play the format of Test cricket and one-day cricket also. So he was not keen on captaincy. So rather than he was not removed, actually he almost opted out of the race. So the choice was basically between Amarnath and Kapil Dev. And Kapil Dev was more assertive, was more popular and more assertive. They thought that, that this team needs aggression as the tool, big tool. And Amarnath was aggressive in his game, but not in the body language and not as a player in the dressing room or on the field. This was the difference. As a tactician, definitely Kapil Dev was not there. Sunil Gavaskar was much better, and Amarnath also was better than Kapil Dev, the tactician. But the team at that point of time functioned as a unit, and they're not looking as only as a captain to perform everything. Gavaskar was there. There was Kirmani giving the inputs, and Amarnath was there. And it was almost run by two or three people. So that was the reason Kapil Dev was the captain, but it was not a controversy within the team, and there was no competition also as far as the captaincy was concerned.
Mr. Kalidas, do you concur with what he is?
I have a slightly different view on this. To my mind, Gavaskar would never have fitted into the scheme of things as a captain because basically he was a test player and therefore very defensive in his outlook. What India needed was raw energy, and that was provided by Kapil Dev. And the other thing is that you see there's a huge amount of difference between captaining a side in a test match and in a limited over match. I mean, the captaincy is not so much of a factor in 60 over cricket as much as it is in test cricket because you are trying to win every session, whereas you are trying to win a match. And I thought that was the right decision because Kapil Dev was a breath of fresh air. Even before the 83 World Cup, here was a cricketer who was almost 360-degree in terms of his ability to bowl, pass, and until Kapil Dev descended on this, I don't think, apart from a guy called Hatia who was in Bombay, I don't think I've ever seen a tearaway fast bowler. And second, Kapil Dev also offered this tremendous, bandwidth in terms of his ability to field so brilliantly, and as a batsman neither who could swing the game. So I thought that was the right thing to do. In any case, there was no expectation, as I said, and Kapil Dev was the best of the side. And I think the raw energy that he exhibited kind of oozed into it permeated into the team, and it showed up in terms of the energy levels of the others. He was very infectious as a leader.
Yeah, but if we go just a couple of tours after 83, that was where Kapil Dev was stripped out of his captaincy, and the captaincy baton was again given to Gavaskar. So
I agree, but then that was, you see, there are two reasons. One is that the later matches were mostly longer versions of the game, and Kapil Dev was somebody who didn't play the game by his mind. He played very instinctively, and that probably was. And then secondly, you see, Indian cricket at that point in time had a huge divide. North and West was ruling the roost. So therefore, I don't think people are waiting for an opportunity for Kapil Dev to make mistakes. In fact, immediately after the World Cup, if you remember, the West Indies came and India lost all the matches. So those were the factors which weighed against him. I don't think, and then the fact that Delhi didn't have that kind of a lobby. So I mean, he'd done his job, and I think it was presumed that his shelf life was over. I don't think there is any discredit in his ability as a cricketer, but yes, he was not a thinking cricketer, very instinctive.
Basically, he was a great asset, and maybe, as I say, he was a very good lieutenant, Senapati, as they say in a kingdom. So he was a very good Senapati, a lieutenant. The only thing, tactics, he was not a great tactician himself. So that particular thing went against him. And but I don't think he really minded, because if you see his performances, even after he was not the captain, he continued to perform in the same vein. So it was not an issue as such. Although the media did play it up, but that's the usual thing in India. You lose a series, you start gunning for the captain. That's it. It goes that way. You can't do much about it.
yes, I was reading.
I think, as Mr. Kalidas said, that Kapil Dev was an instinctive cricketer, quite aggressive, and Gavaskar, as a typical Bombay attitude, I must say. They all have a more of defensive approach.
They are called the Kadus. Yeah,
Kadus cricketers.
That kind of approach they take, very very conservative approach. They don't want to lose the match. That kind of approach. Whereas in World Cup and all that, you have to win the match to be in the running. So I think as a decision was concerned, I think being a young raw blood, I think infusing Kapil Dev was quite a right decision. And keeping Gavaskar in the team was also necessary, because he was a batsman who was capable of, at least defending some balls in the beginning and all that. and with good strokes, he could score some runs also. That's how it is.
Seaming, the ball seaming, you need something more steady because
Exactly.
Srikanth was very unpredictable, and you did that. The country did not have any opening batsman of any repute, or even somebody who has the capability to represent the country. So there was no second option. So that's the reason, in fact, he went into the team. Otherwise, if you had somebody else coming into the fray, if Ravi Shastri was performing better as an opener, he might not have made into the team itself.
So now that we have covered the basic premises of the Indian team of '83, what it was all about, the captains and everything that is covered, we can probably get into the practice matches. I heard somewhere that India had lost all the practice matches. So do you remember anything in print or in radio or anything, any news that came in during that time about the practice matches, or it was just the World Cup that started and people took notice? Mr. Surya.
Practice matches were not covered by the much as far as it was only the print. You get to see the scores or anything. Even radio, news, etc. BBC was very difficult to get through. So practice matches, honestly, we had no clue, and we just got the news. We used to get the news that they lost or something happened, but there was no disappointment because it was only they said that okay, it is England conditions, and the ball is moving around. The team will need more time to settle down and blah blah blah. So there was no disappointment as such as far as the practice matches were concerned, because as I said, we were not expecting much as far as the bigger game itself was concerned. So losing practice matches did not really hurt us in any way.
We have always heard and seen how bowlers set up the batsmen. Similarly, I have also set up the premises, which would then make the upcoming discussions much more interesting. If you like this video, then please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel.
Ray of hope started in the previous tour versus the West
I
Indies.
think it was more overconfidence than anything else that resulted in the West Indian loss. And that's exactly the reason why I felt they lost the final.
India showed that they had a good set of fighters in the team.
It's only when India beat Australia later in the tour.
It was always going to be their batters versus our bowlers. It was not going to be our batters versus their bowlers.